Can you guys see me and hear me? Let's see here. Okay, can everybody see me and hear me? I'm waiting for everything to pop up. Let me enable the chat. Okay. So can everybody see me? Can everybody hear me? Let me check and see. Okay, good. So I got a new microphone. Okay, cool. So I'm so glad you guys can see me here. I hope you guys are doing good. So right now we have about 900 people in here. I'm not going to start till we get to about 2 to 3,000. Okay, good. I can see you guys. What's up? Let me go ahead and slow down the chat here. Okay, awesome. I'm so glad everybody's here now. Let me minimize this window. I got like 50 things up here. Let me reply back to this text. I have a few people that are going to call in as well. Okay. Let me make sure my phone is on vibrate. So how's everybody doing this Sunday? Welcome to the first episode of Documentaries and Discussions. So thank you guys so much for encouraging me to do this. I hope you guys all got to watch How to Survive Prison. It is such a good documentary. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on Netflix and on Amazon Prime, I believe. I've literally watched it 4 times just to get ready for all of this. So I'm glad that you guys, a lot of you guys got a chance to watch it. People been hitting me up, and I know it made a lot of people really emotional, okay? So we're going to talk about it soon. I'm waiting for more people to come in here. So before I get into the whole documentaries thing, I want to come on here and just, say that I feel much better this week. I know last week's live was crazy, but I make no apologies for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm always going to be open and honest about my feelings. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and I'm a true Leo. You know what I'm saying? I'll be cool, but once somebody just keeps messing with me and, just keeps picking them out, those paws are going to come out. You know what I'm saying? That's how Leos do. But I do want to say, thank you to, the smaller up and coming YouTubers who did not take offense, who understood I wasn't talking about them. I wasn't disrespecting small YouTubers. I was talking about a select minority who were harassing and, just really defaming my brand. So to the ones who are out here doing their thing, who didn't take no offense, who kept it moving, kept, creating their wonderful content, thank you guys. I want to shout out the Brittany Chanel's, the Wileys, the Jay Wilsons, Nicole Tylers, and there's just so many more people that are up and coming who are doing commentary. Keep doing y'all's thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I wanted to put out there. I have nothing against little channels. I have issues with people, who just straight disrespect me when I've done nothing to them. So that's always been my issue. And then also, I just want to say I'm not about to go back into any of that stuff this week. I want to move forward. Keep creating content, really start getting this documentary and discussion series up and running. I just don't have time anymore for the negativity, for the nonsense. So if you're here looking for beef and drama, you might want to go somewhere else, because we're not doing that tonight. We're having a discussion about this topic. So if you're interested, stay with us, grab a teacup, enjoy. If you're just here looking for drama, exit stage left, okay? I know. I think I'm almost at 700,000. It's crazy. Oh, okay, I did hit it. Okay, I wasn't even sure. Thank you so much, Patricia Brown. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a long week. What's up, Fabiola? She said, hey, from Ratchet Ass, Florida. And you guys are liking the news. I'm so glad I'm back doing the news on my channel. I didn't realize how much people missed it, but I'm really happy I brought it back. It's been feeling good to like go back and do news stories and talk about what's going on. Even though I wasn't shooting content on that channel, I keep up with the news because if you guys go onto my website, if you guys go onto lovelyti.com, I have some bomb bloggers and they keep news on that site updated. We're always posting stuff on Twitter. So even when I'm sick, my bloggers, my personal assistant, they're still going to be hard at work keeping content flowing on my Facebook and on my Twitter page. My Instagram is more personal. So my Instagram, I'm the only one who posts on there. So that's when you know I'm not around. If I'm not posting on my Instagram, that means I'm out for the count. But my other pages, they'll still be posted on because I pay people to post. You know what I mean? Just like if you work at a job and your boss is sick, does that mean you just don't go to work anymore? No, they're still going to keep doing their job. So, you know, shout out to my bloggers who put in work and who keep my website running and, you know, keep the stories coming. So it feels good to be able to put these stories back in video form for everybody. Okay, well, that was quick. Okay, we got damn near 4,000 people in here. I thought it was going to take a lot longer, and I've only been live for 6 minutes. So what's up, everybody? And I'm still kind of under the weather. So please forgive me if I'm coughing. I went out last night because I was like, you know what? I haven't been nowhere in a while. I need to get out. My friends took me. I went to a really cool Halloween party. I posted the pictures on Instagram. I had a good time. I think Michael Myers had a crush on me. We had a good time last night. So it felt good to just, you know, get out and be in the real world, be around real people. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to y'all for joining me tonight. We got some new members. Let me see who this is. Welcome, Donald Medor. I appreciate you. So it looks like we got quite a bit of people here. I wanted to wait until we had enough people. Let's see here. And where my moderators at? Thank you so much. I'm going to make a few guys moderators. So please go through if y'all see anybody trolling, trying to change the discussion in the chat room. Make sure you boot their ass out, okay? We're not here for none of that fuck shit. We got people in here from Paris. Shout out to Paris. 21, let me see. It's going so fast. 2721 Kit Kat said you look super cute last night. Thank you so much, love. I appreciate it. Nobody could guess what I was. I swear people kept trying to guess what my costume was. I got a witch. I got vampire. I got a black nurse. Nobody could guess my costume. It was so funny. That was like the biggest joke last night. Okay, cool. Let me make a few more people moderators. Thank you so much. There you go. All right, so we ready to get into this discussion? Who else said can they be a mod? Okay, organic eating girl, I got you. I'm going to make you a mod. Let me get all my mods in place. Like I said, if folks are in there wilding, talking about some, you know, shit that ain't got nothing to do with the topic, boot them out of here. What's up? We see Chicago in the house and Detroit and Canada. Oh, wow. So Salim Dimak is saying hi from Cyprus. That's what's up. Hello and welcome. We got a new member, Linda Trousant. Thank you so much for joining. And Against All Odds just donated $20. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, I think I got enough mods. Let's see here. Somebody said they're supposed to be studying. Make sure you go study afterwards. All right, I think I got enough moderators. Let me see. Who else wants a blue wrench? They're like, pick me, I want a mod. Okay, perfect. All right, there we go. Done. Got enough moderators. We got enough people in here. We got over 3,000 thus far. So we're going to go ahead and get to the topic at hand. So this is the first episode of Documentaries and Discussions, where we pick a documentary and then you have a whole week to watch it, and then we're going to come together on Sundays and discuss it, okay? So this particular documentary is called Survivor's Guide to Prison. And the person who directed it, it was a lot of people who produced it, a lot of people who worked behind the scenes, but it was Matthew Cook. And he decided to get involved in this because he heard so many horror stories in the prison industrial complex. We also had people who also made an appearance in the video, like Danny Trujillo, Busta Rhymes, Jesse Williams, Danny Glover, who else? Warren G. It was so many celebrity faces, but it was such a dope documentary. And the thing that first kind of got me interested in topics about, like, you know, prisons and jails and stuff like that, was the whole Kalief Browder situation. If you guys remember back in 2015 on my news channel, I had covered the situation of Kalief Browder. If you guys don't know, he was a young boy at the time. He was 16 years old, and he basically went to prison. Not prison, excuse me. He went to jail at Rikers Island for 3 years for allegedly stealing a backpack. He did not steal a backpack, but he ended up for 2 out of the 3 years in solitary confinement, and it did a lot to his psyche. And Kalief Browder just couldn't handle it anymore, and he ended up taking his life about a year after he got out of there. And so, as we all know, Jay-Z produced a documentary called Time. And when I watched Time, like, not only, like, it fit the pieces together. You know, it's very easy for people to assume that you should just know that innocent people are going to jail. Well, if that's not your lifestyle and you don't have people in your family or close friends going in and out of jail, you don't know. Do I know people who are doing time in prison? Yes. Do I know people who are in and out of jail? Yes. But most of the people that I know that are doing time or that are in and out of jail, a lot of them did that shit, okay? So for me, I always assumed if you're in jail, you know what I'm saying, you must be guilty or you did something. I didn't know how complex the situation was because I've never been arrested. I've never been to jail. I've never done time. You know what I'm saying? Thank the Lord, you know, up above. You know what I mean? But one thing is, I never look at that and think that I'm better than somebody, because at the end of the day, the only thing that separates me and somebody in jail or somebody, you know, going to prison are decisions. It's that simple. It's simply decisions. You know, it's decisions that you make in your life. It's also circumstances. Maybe you should have made a right and you made a left. Maybe you allowed some people around you that shouldn't have been around you. Now you're caught up in a situation. So sometimes it's a simple decision that can land people in certain situations. So I learned a lot from watching that Time documentary on Kalief Browder, okay? And so when I ran across this on Netflix, excuse me, I was like, okay, let me go ahead and check this out. And when I tell you, by the time I got done watching the documentary, I was in tears. Like, it got me so emotional because a lot of times, like I said, you guys all know, like, I watch shows like Lock Up Raw. That's really been, like, my extent of, you know, how I know how the inside of a prison or a jail functions is from watching MSNBC Lock Up Raw, you know, and we watch it and it's kind of like voyeurism and it doesn't seem too bad. And, you know, they're getting 3 hots on the cot and they're getting all this stuff. But one thing in this documentary, Survivor's Guide to Prison, is that they said shows like that are highly edited. They put the prison's best face forward. And in reality, that's not what's happening. And they touched on so many interesting topics. They touched on a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, it was just so many things that I walked away from watching this documentary that I knew nothing about. So let me go ahead and go into the chat room. I want to ask some of you guys, put up a thumbs up if you've ever been arrested, if you ever gone to jail, if you ever done some prison time. I know a few of my subscribers wrote me and let me know that they've done time in prison and they're really appreciating that I'm talking about this. If you've ever done any type of time, if you've ever been to jail, you know what I'm saying, don't be embarrassed. Put up a thumbs up just so I kind of know. You know, a lot of people, okay. So we got Valerie putting up a thumbs up. Jim says, exactly, very edited. I have both sides of I have family on both sides of the gate. The system is horrible. It really is. It's a lot of stuff. Okay, so we have a few thumbs ups in the house. And then other folks are saying, hell no. Somebody went to jail for traffic tickets. Okay, well, if you've never been to jail, why are you putting down the thumbs down and saying nope? I said the people who have been to jail or prison put a thumbs up. So we have quite a few people, you know what I'm saying, who've done time, you know what I'm saying, or who've been locked up. And that's the thing. In a lot of jails, what people haven't misconstrued, that most people who are going to jails are really in there for like nonviolent offenses. Traffic tickets, getting caught with marijuana, you know, getting caught with like, you know, small grams of like cocaine, you know, things like that. Like for like recreational use. So it's not necessarily a bunch of like hardcore killers and rapists and things like that that are sitting in jail. A lot of times it's regular people. And one thing that I learned in that documentary is that, you know, poverty plays a big part in this. A lot of times people are in those situations, not necessarily because they're guilty, but just for the fact that they can't even make bail. And it's very easy to look down on folks and say, okay, well, your bail, you know, is only 10%. All you need is $500. You couldn't get, you know, 5 people to give you money. If you don't have it and your friends and family don't have it, guess what? You just don't have it. You know what I'm saying? So it's very easy to just assume something is wrong with that person, or, you know, well, maybe their friends don't support them or their family don't support them. Sometimes people just don't have the money, especially to bail somebody out. And then sometimes you got to look at it like, do I give this person $500 to bail them out? You know what I'm saying? Or do I use this $500 to, you know, go towards my rent, towards groceries? So a lot of people are in very, you know, dire economic straits where they can't help people out. And then people end up in there until their trial date. And one thing that they hit on is that a lot of folks do not end up going to trial. So that was another thing that really surprised me in the documentary, because so many times, again, we watch these scripted shows and we think that everybody who has been arrested, who's waiting to, you know, to go, who's in jail waiting, they're getting ready to go to trial. And that's not the case. They made a really good observation. They said that right now, if everybody who's in jail, who's in the criminal justice system, decided to say, we want to take this to trial, we don't want to do any plea bargaining, they said the entire system would shut down. It was shut down indefinitely because there's not enough man hours. There's not enough there's not enough manpower to basically go through the paperwork, to basically try and get people off, to go through these cases with a fine-tooth comb. So you have a lot of people not doing their due diligence. And a lot of times, do you really want to put your hands in a public defender, you know, your life in a public defender, when they have, you know, cases and cases of, you know, paperwork and court cases to get through? So for a lot of people, they're scared to, and so they'll tell you, well, either, you know, you take a plea deal and take this 3 years, or else if you take it to trial, you can look at 30 years. Where a lot of times, if they were really to take it to trial, they could get off, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of people are so scared to chance that they just end up taking plea deals. And, you know, even people who are innocent sometimes are willing to take plea deals just because they feel like, you know what, the sooner I plead out, the sooner I can get out of here. Because as we all see, jail is not a, you know, fun place to be whatsoever. Let me go ahead and read some of these comments. Oh my God, somebody donated $100. Thank you so much, Kyle Holman. He says, I love you, T. Never change. Your beautiful personality and speak your truth always. Thank you so much. I definitely will. I truly appreciate that. We also have Chaz. Chaz says, make me a moderator. Let me see if I can do it from here. All right, Chaz, I got you. And thank you for the $20 donation. I appreciate it. Miss Blue Reese says 13 million people go to jail a year in the U.S. In the U.S., it's crazy. It's really insane when you think about how many people are in jail versus in the real world. There's just as many people in jail right now and in prisons as there is people out here. In other countries, they don't have, you know, situations where over half of their population is sitting behind bars. It's just insane when you actually look at the big scope of the picture. I'm going to go ahead and read some more comments here. So Fab Kid says, what about the detectives or investigating officer under time constraint and pressures to get a confession from the suspect? I was shocked. This is their freedom. Yes, it was very shocking to see that, you know, because you just think that people are good-hearted. You just, you know, automatically assume, like, you know, if I'm accused of something and I didn't do it, these people will have my best interest at heart. They're going to fight for me. They're going to try and fight, you know what I'm saying, to, you know, let the world know I'm innocent. And that's not the case. They're really incentivizing people to lock folks up. And so a lot of these prosecutors, they're getting rewarded for how many people they can lock up. So my thing is this: if you're incentivizing people for locking folks up, what is going to deter them from not locking folks up? You get what I'm saying? If that's your bonus, if that's how you move up in the court system, and that's how you move up the corporate ladder of your job, then you're going to do whatever you can to lock somebody up, even if they're innocent. And then what really surprised me in the documentary is that there's a clause that says that prosecutors, let's say you end up getting 15 years and it comes out later on you did nothing wrong, you cannot sue the prosecutor, and the prosecutor can never do time. So it's almost like, it's just a double-edged sword. Like, nothing happens to them. If they help to convict innocent people and they make innocent people guilty, they cannot be charged. And I think that's bullshit. I think if you held them more accountable and you held their feet to the fire and told them, no, we're not going to incentivize you. And if you lock up innocent people and you're not doing your due diligence, at that point in time, your ass will be sitting behind bars. I bet you anything, there would be no more innocent people going to jail 9 times out of 10 because those prosecutors would make sure to do their due diligence. And that's the problem, is that there's so much corruption in the system that, it's like an onion. Once you peel one layer, it's another. Police corruption is one aspect of it, and then you have another aspect. Okay, once you're arrested, the prosecutor, the DA, the judges, these judges are overworked. They're tired, they're swamped, and they hold people's lives in their hand. So if that judge just happened to have a bad day, he's getting into it with his wife, God forbid he didn't get breakfast. It's literally this person's, your life is in this person's hand. And it's just insane that there's no checks and balances. And I think that's the part that just really shocked me with everything. There's like absolutely no checks and balances. The 2 guys in the story, let me pull up their names here. I don't know what happened to their screenshots. So, one was the white guy. His name was Bruce Lisker, and the other was a black gentleman. His name was Reggie Cole. And when I tell you, their stories broke my heart. Bruce, the white guy, he ended up doing 26 years in prison. They basically said that he killed his mother. He did not kill his mother. It was a family friend, like a friend of his, who ended up being the person who did it. But because it was just such shoddy police work in the 70s, they refused to believe him. This man literally lost 26 years of his life. So not only was he accused, tried, and convicted of killing his mother, which he did not kill her, while he was in there, he had to deal with, his father, watching him do all this time. His father ended up dying. His stepmother ended up dying. He went through hell in those 26 years. Only to then, I believe in 2003, when they started reviewing old cases, especially like DNA and more technology, they found out that he wasn't guilty of his crime. But because the LAPD did not want to look bad, they kept him in there for like another 4 years. So from like 2003, 2004, he still was not eligible to get out until like 2009. It's just really sickening how they do people when you really sit back and you watch everything. And my thing is, okay, this man I believe they gave him like 30 years, but he did 26. Even if he sues, like, how do you get that time back? You know what I'm saying? Like nothing will make up for that. I don't care if they give him $20 million. Nothing can make up for 26 years of your life. When this man went in, there was like literally like no internet. There were no emojis. There was none of that stuff. And then now he's having to come out into the real world, and the world is just totally different. I just couldn't imagine losing that much of my life, not being able to go to my mother's funeral, my father's funeral, my stepmother's funeral. He lost so much. And it's like, the people who are involved in him losing so much, they have nothing to say. And I think that's one of the saddest parts in all of this. And the same thing with the black gentleman, Reggie Cole. He ended up doing 16 years behind bars because they accused him of killing somebody. And he didn't. He had nothing to do with it. And unfortunately, because prison is not a place to rehabilitate people, this is a place where these prisoners become a lot worse. And so this prisoner called the devil tried to make him basically there was like a knife on the yard, and he wanted him to take accountability for the knife. And Reggie was like, no, I'm not going to the hole for that knife. That wasn't my knife. I'm not doing it. So then the devil attacked him, ended up slicing his neck. And he knew that this dude was a killer. And he was like, if I don't get him now, he's going to kill me. So he ended up jumping over a guard, and he killed the devil right there on the prison yard. And then at that point, he was, contained. He was thrown in solitary. He was getting ready to go to trial for murdering the devil. And when they're looking at his old case, a prosecutor who was looking through his old case realized that Reggie couldn't have did this shooting. And then that made them reinvestigate the case, and that's the only reason why he got out. He literally had to kill a man, had his old case reinvestigated, and then they found out that he didn't do it. And then at that point, the Innocence Project got involved, and he was able to get out. But he lost 16 years of his life. And you can tell the man is still like going through a lot. Even throughout the documentary, he's crying, he's reliving certain things. He's saying that he just does not fit in anymore because he was locked up for so long. And when you're in those situations, you're basically, you're basically turned into an animal. So he just feels like he cannot even fit into society. And again, it doesn't matter how much money they give these guys. There's no way you can make up for 16 years of your life just gone for no reason for a crime that you didn't commit. Let me go ahead and read some of these comments here. So Long Hair Don't Care says, my husband took a plea deal just to come home. Let me check some of these. Kiba Moore says, thank you for the donation, Kibra. She says, look what happened to Brian Banks. His lawyer told him to take the plea deal and was told if he went to trial, he could get 40 years. Years later, the female said she lied and he was eventually exonerated. And you are so right, sis. I remember doing a video on that years ago when Brian Banks got out. And this was a young man who went to, I believe, Polytech High School in Long Beach. He was real popular, really good football player. And the female, she felt some type of way because she just was not his type. He was a real popular guy. And she lied and said that this man raped her. And now, let me not say man, he was a child at the time. This child raped her, okay? Because they were all teenagers. And then he ended up like doing like some type of undercover thing. And they talked to her and she finally admitted that he never raped her. And guess what? Nothing happened to her. She's not sitting her ass in prison. She got all this money from the school and from the state because her and her mom ended up suing. And that money's gone. There's no repercussions. This man lost 5 years of his life. He lost his football scholarship. I believe he ended up playing like 1 or 2 years in the NFL. I don't know if he still is. But again, how do you get that time back, especially when he wasn't guilty? And unfortunately, you have, defense attorneys that are supposed to have your best interest at heart, and they don't. They just want you to plead out because their caseload is so heavy. So it's like, well, just go ahead and take these 5 years so I can move on to the next case. And which is messed up. And when you're, a young person, you're thinking, okay, at least in 5 years I can get out. I'll be in my 20s versus, doing 40 years, more time that I done lived. You know what I'm saying? So that's where a lot of people end up having their back put against the wall. Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you, Khadijah, for the donation. Tracy says people need to be prosecuted for their mistakes. This is unbelievable. I'm just trying to go through these comments here. Extraterrestrial says, it's sad. Going to prison is now a business. It's like if these people are in the justice system, they get a reward for putting people away. Why would they look for justice instead of for themselves? And that's the biggest problem. That was one of the takeaways as well. I'm glad you brought that up, is that, at this point in time, America, to me, honestly, is no longer a country. America is just a big corporation / plantation, okay? We work hard every day, trying to go to work and get money and pay bills and everything else. And it's so insane how, big the prison industrial complex gets. Why would they want to do prison reform? Why would they want to, spend money on rehabilitation? They want you to reoffend. They want it to be where it's a whole circle where you go in and out. It's a rotating door. They want that because they need that prison labor, because now these mega companies, they've gotten very, very comfortable using prison labor. I mean, companies that you wouldn't think about. Now, I know initially, I always knew because I lived in the Carolinas for years, and I knew that Ashley Furniture, they use prison labor because a lot of the furniture in the Carolinas is made in the prison system. They make furniture, table, things like that. But one thing I was very shocked that I learned about in this documentary is that, you know, companies like Victoria's Secrets, you know what I'm saying? They're using prison labor. And, you know, we cry about sweatshops and these poor kids in Bangladesh and these poor people in India making iPhones, and in China, you know, making iPods and stuff like that. We cry about sweatshops overseas, which we should. I don't think anybody should be exploited. You know what I mean? We cry about that. But what about the people being exploited here in our own backyard? You know what I'm saying? So many things is being run on prison labor. You know, I've had a lot of friends who've gone to jail, who's done time. And, you know, these people are literally working 8-10 hour shifts. There's no labor laws. You know, they can work you as much as they want. And they're literally getting paid not 10 cents an hour, anywhere from 10 to 32 cents for the entire day. Okay? If that's not slavery in a different form, I don't know what is. You know, and that's why people say that, you know, the 13th Amendment never, you know, freed people from slavery. It just, you know, changed it into something different. Now, you know, yes, you're free physically, you're not under chains and you can kind of come and go. But once you find yourself in that prison system, once you find yourself in that jail system, you're not back on that plantation. You're not back being a slave. And people say, well, if I ever go to jail, I'm not working. I'm just going to stay in my cell. That's not an option, boo-boo. If you are in jail, if you're in prison, you have to work. If you do not work, you will find yourself in solitary confinement in a small ass room with no windows. And for the most part, nobody wants to be in there because that's like, you know, they won't even put animals in that type of situation. You know what I'm saying? You can't even treat an animal like that, but we treat people like that. So nobody in their right mind would rather go to solitary as opposed to working in the kitchen or building a table or, you know, putting together some bras and shoes and stuff like that. So it's really insane how much America now depends on prison labor. You know, we talk a lot of stuff about immigration and, you know, immigrants taking jobs and things like that. But what about them giving all that work that people on the outside could be doing? There's a lot of folks who, you know, who need customer service jobs. You know what I mean? You have people out here who can't find work in the real world, but now you got prisoners taking customer service calls. You have prisoners, you know, sewing clothing and making shoes, whereas, you know, people in the real world aren't even able to find jobs like that. So I find that just really, you know, just disgusting and uncalled for. Yes, the documentary 13 on Netflix, that's another really good documentary. Ito Maya says, some people just can't stand being the villain in somebody else's truth. If you did your due diligence, maybe you wouldn't be here. And that's the truth. Somebody else is saying on the West Coast, they force you to work. Yeah, it really is. LaShonda's saying, are you serious? Yes, I'm dead serious. Like, you have to work. There is no, I'm just going to sit in my cell and protest. You have to work. Like, so many companies are now dependent on prison labor. It's insane. And a lot of stuff that the prisoners have to pay for, like, everything is doubled. I remember one of my friends, he's currently locked up. He's doing time. And so he called me, and I think I told this story before, and I was asking him, you know, like, what are your plans? Like, what do you plan on doing when you get out? You know what I'm saying? You need to find a trade while you're in there. You need to just, you know, really learn something. And so he said he was very interested in being an electrician. And he said he was looking online because they can go onto certain websites or whatever. And he saw a book called, like, an electrician, like, let me see, like an electrician's guide or, you know, electrician for dummies, something like that. So he was like, you know, I would really like that book so that way I can learn more about that and then maybe get myself a trade and things. So me being the, you know, the kind-hearted person I was, after I got off the phone call, I go onto Amazon. I'm looking for this book because I'm like, okay, I'm going to surprise him. I'm going to get this book. I'll send it to him. So that way, you know, he can do something while he's in there. You know what I'm saying? And so he ends up calling back like literally 10 minutes later. And he's known me since I was 13. So he just knows how I am. And he's like, I already know you. He was like, I bet you anything you're trying to find me that book. And I was like, yeah, how do you know? He's like, I just know you. And so I said, I'm on Amazon right now. Do I just send it, to the prison yard? Like, what do I send it to? And he says, we can't take anything from a source that's not approved by the prison. And I'm like, hold up, what do you mean a source that's not approved by the prison? He said, if you were to buy the book from Amazon and send it, either the guards will keep it or they'll send it back to you. I said, well, then how do you get books? He said, you have to go onto a special website. When I tell you, these prisons are making so much money under the table, it's insane. Anyways, he gives me this website, never heard of it. It's almost like an Amazon for prisoners. So I go onto the website and there's like, list of books and just different items that, you can buy prisoners. And obviously the prison is working hand in hand with this website, okay? They're getting a cut. Whatever the website is selling, the prison gets a cut. That's why they didn't want me buying anything off of Amazon. The same book, okay, Electricians for Dummies, was about, I believe, $15 on Amazon. On this prison website, it was $30. So it was double the price. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So, he's telling me what to do. You got to go on there. You got to buy the books. I bought him that. And I also bought him like this holistic, book for like health, like just to like take care of yourself health wise. So I bought 2 books for him. And it ended up costing me $60. Whereas if I had bought it on Amazon, it would have been a lot cheaper. So now I'm just going off. I'm like, this is just blatant. This is such bullshit. Like everything from the JPay system, sending emails, how much things cost, the phone calls. I mean, they nickel and dime these people for every little thing. So it's definitely a big business, especially if it's a private prison. They can basically do whatever they want. They can charge whatever they want. So everything they were saying in that survivor's guide had so much truth to it, and just the fact that I've seen it myself, where they only want certain things done via the prison with certain websites and certain companies. They work very, very closely together to keep that money in-house. Let me see what everybody's in here saying. Yes, it's the truth. It's crazy. Somebody said we need a revolution. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff going on. So let me go ahead. I got a few people that's going to call in tonight. Yes, the judicial system / prison system is modern day slavery. America is a business. Nothing is free in this country at all. At all. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. So let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and start taking some calls. And everybody who's going to call in, I'll text you when I'm ready for the next call. I have some people who want to like specifically chime in. Sweet Face Ola says, I just sent my cousin money and they charged me $15 on the 100. That's crazy. It is. It's like a huge hustle. It really is. Jasmine says, unfortunately, the general public doesn't give a shit. And it's true. They don't. They don't care because it's not affecting them. So let me go ahead and see if we can get this call. Hello?
Hello?
Okay, can everybody hear this person calling in? This is Jay. Jay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Can you guys hear him in the chat room? Let me make sure everybody can hear you first. Give me 2 seconds. Yes, I'm taking calls. Can everybody hear Jay? Let me know if you guys can hear him. Okay, cool. So they can hear you. Thanks, you guys. All right, Jay. So, Jay, I wanted you to call in because I didn't want this to be, where we're just bashing police and COs and things like that. And I know that you're a CO at your job. So I wanted you to kind of talk about the things that you've seen, as a CO, and just some of the things that you've experienced, like with the prisoners and and how hard it is because we kind of grew up in the hood. And that was one of the things that we had discussed is that, you know, a lot of times the only difference between you and that person behind bars is simply a decision. So if you want to go ahead and just talk about that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's always that. At least for me, I mean, I'm cool with a lot of people that are, unfortunately, I'm cool with a lot of people that are already there.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I have realized, though, is that there's a prison culture. It's almost as if some of the students or some of the inmates that are there, it's kind of like, you know, the typical class clowns or the typical people who they sometimes got kicked out of class, and whereas the guards, a lot of them, I'm going to be honest, they're conservatives. They're not necessarily full right wing, but a lot of them are, you know, they're white wing, they're Republicans. So it's like you got a bunch of people that are from different. You got people that are from a world, you know, inner city. There's one culture there, and then the people managing them are coming from the suburbs.
Jesse, talk up. They can't hear you. Talk up louder.
Hold on. Can you hear me better now?
Can you guys hear him better now? Keep talking.
Yeah. So there's these inner city again, former class clowns type of kids that probably got kicked out of class for like smaller things, and you have these conservative or, you know, somewhat right wingers. They're the ones that are managing them. So you have two completely different worlds that are put together with, again, just the people that are managing them. I would say maybe 80 to 90% of them shouldn't manage them because they're everyday regular. In all honesty, you strip away the type of stuff that they do, and they're everyday common people.
Now, one thing you were telling me yesterday, you were saying that it's like they train the COs for like the worst case scenario. Is one thing that you were saying. So that's where kind of causes like some of the conflict because they're going in almost like militarized. You know, they're ready to like slam folks and talk crazy to them. And it's like, for the most part, the prisoners are cool. It's just like, you know, it's a respect thing. But because they're training them for the worst case scenarios, that's where a lot of the clash comes in at.
And yep, that's, I mean, again, yep, we talked about that yesterday. We're not trained. For instance, if there's a fight between two different inmates, going in to just regularly break it up, we're not trained for that. Because at the end of the day, at least where I'm at, the city and state wants to protect you because you're somewhat of a liability to them. So when we first go in, first we give a directive, separate. They're not separating, then we automatically use the irritant, which would be mace. So if you're going in and two people are fighting and you mace them, of course now the subject, now there's that additional barrier between like the CO and the inmate. So again, there's no person to person level. This is my job. This is what I come here to do, which I understand that. But then you're managing people's lives. Another thing, 9 times out of 10, once they see COs coming in and a fight, they'll disengage. They'll step away. But then when they turn around and put their hands behind their back, there's still a specific way that you have to cuff them. For instance, you have to grab their wrist in a way that controls their movement. Because they're training you, because you're trained in the aspect of what if you're trying to cuff this inmate and this inmate tries to fight you because they're still angry because they've just been maced. So they have even though they already have their hands behind their back and they're compliant, again, you're still trained to put the cuffs on the same way as if they were fighting you.
Okay.
So then that can also, so when you add which again, I'm not gonna lie, I somewhat understand the training, but again, when you put a conservative or right wing in charge of people, in charge of people that we're meant to rehabilitate, and then you train them from that perspective to where you kind of have, to where you train them to where, you know, while I would say, you know, 10% of the people in the prison those are the ones you kind of want to watch out for.
Okay.
And have that short fuse. They're trained to deal with the entire population. as if they were all that 10%.
Now, Jesse, somebody's asking a comment in the comment section, and I hope you guys can hear me because I moved the microphone towards the speaker. But they're asking, how do, cell phones and drugs and stuff like that get into the prisons?
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I work at a minimum security. I'm actually in charge of mail that goes in and out of security. The only way, I guess because we do have sweeps. So say someone knows where the jail is, or say I'm an inmate, and I have a friend. Someone could come someone from the outside could come, throw the phone over to a specific area, and if the inmate sweeping the yard don't see it or is done at a specific time, then when that person goes back out to the yard for their rec time, they can easily grab their phone. So another thing we do is every so often there's a surprise shakedown. We're going to every cell, we're going in every bunk, we're going in every drawer, everything's emptied out.
Okay.
We don't even allow new pictures.
Oh, y'all don't allow new pictures no more? They done got rid of the porno. Because back in the day, remember, they could have porn, they could have cigarettes, all that. And I heard a lot of prisons now are getting rid of cigarettes because they were using them, that almost like money. And it caused a lot of issues.
Yeah, that's how they use their pictures, too. So a lot of people, unfortunately, when people send provocative pictures to inmates in jail, at least where I'm at sometimes they end up, they trade those pictures, at least for the time that they're in there, for commissary. And then as they're leaving, I guess the code within the prison is the person that they gave the pictures to are supposed to give them back.
So now let me ask you this, because one of the things that people have an issue with, especially with, the COs and stuff like that, people feel like there's no checks and balances. Like when we watch the stuff that was going on with Kalief Browder, how he was just getting beat up in Rikers Island by the COs. It was just insane. But what you were telling me is that in y'all's jail, there are checks and balances. Like every jail is not the same. Every jail is not Rikers, right? And you're saying that now, especially in your jail, they hold COs accountable. And like prisoners can file grievances and things like that. So if you want to speak on that real quick.
So yeah, and that actually causes some COs to be salty too. But yeah, so when you're at least where I'm at, if there's any allegations made against a correctional officer, there's 3 outcomes that can come to pass. And this is based on the allegation from the inmate. There's guilty and founded. There's unguilty. There's unfounded, and then there's innocent and founded. So those are the 3 options that you can get. So the difference is say I go in, say I'm shaking a cell down, and I go into that specific cell, and there's no camera in there. And while I'm in there, he says that I sprayed him and kicked him on the ground. Say there's another officer that watched me go in there. That other officer, there can be that. I'm going to be honest. There can be a break in system. That other officer can say, "No, I saw him walk in there, and he did not punch him in the face." So then that would be listed as founded innocent. The inmates, they'll also interview other inmates and say, hey, we're investigating, determine the results by there. If you ever get caught in a situation where it's unfounded but innocent,
okay,
your career is dead. You will be. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people make a good living off of being a correctional officer, at least for the county or state. But the added benefits that you get, a lot of them are making 6 figures because they're working in overtime and after all, you crew hours. But the moment you get an allegation made against you and it's unfounded, so they don't find anything that supports the inmate, or there's nothing against you, it's unfounded. But now you're a liability, so your career's going to go anywhere. Your career's not going to go anywhere. But if you're founded and guilty, you're going to lose your job, and they're going to automatically press charges up on you because inmates are they're almost considered like vulnerable adults because you're in charge of them essentially.
Okay. So really, unfortunately, I mean, it's good for your jail, but unfortunately, a lot of other jails, there's no checks and balances. And I know we were talking about that, especially with the private prisons, how a lot of those,
Right.
they can kind of get away with things because it's a privately ran prison. Now, let me ask you, because people are asking in the comment section, what about COs who get caught sleeping with inmates? Because you hear stories about like prison. I mean, about like female COs getting pregnant. I mean, it's a mess. It's all types of wild sex going on in there almost.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost what triggered the unfounded and founded those rules. It's called PREA. It's the prison. It's like Prison Rape Act, or it's along the lines of that. But yeah, so there's for instance, I would say 5 to 10 years ago, there was a female. And this is again crazy. The female actually performed fellatio on another guy, on an inmate in jail.
Oh, let me go ahead and sip some tea on that.
He told on her because he wanted to go to like a different. Because if say for instance, say I have a mental if I have a mental disorder, there's specific dorms for other people. So he wanted to go to a specific dorm, and he goes, well, hey, what about this person? She performed fellatio on me. Well, that girl then got cut from the job, and then she got prosecuted, and now she's serving 2 years in jail.
So then she ended up behind bars as well.
Of course, in a different, they automatically send them to a different state, somewhere where you would never know.
Okay, so she wouldn't be in the same state.
She wouldn't be in the same state.
Okay.
Oh no.
Okay, that makes sense. No, I really thank you for that. I thank you for calling in and kind of, speaking from a CO's point of view. Because I wanted to get other people's perspectives as well. So thank you so much, Jesse, for calling in. I appreciate it.
No problem. Always.
All right. Have a good evening.
Yep, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So we got some more people going to call in. So he made a lot of good points here. So he's saying at his jail, like I was telling you guys, that there are checks and balances. Like every jail is not like Rikers, but unfortunately you do have a lot of, COs and stuff like that who get corrupted by power. And let me kind of bring my microphone back up here until we get a phone call. But you get some people who get corrupted by power, especially if you were like one of those like nerdy ass dudes in high school or junior high. Okay, my second person is calling in. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, is this Jeff?
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much for calling in. Can you guys hear Jeff? Let me know if you guys can hear him. I got the microphone here by the speaker.
Hi, guys.
How's
everybody doing?
Yeah, we have a house full of folks. So
I was watching for a while. I'm using my phone to call in, so I'm off the page at the moment.
Okay, cool. Now, I'm glad you were able to call in. So you got a chance to watch the documentary, because I know we talked about it, and you said it touched you because you've been through a lot of similar things. So I would love for you to sit here and tell, they're saying that your phone is really clear, so that's good. They can hear you perftly. I want you to...
I have a deep voice, too, so that helps.
All right, Barry White. So they want you to. I want you to basically share your story and what you've been through, because you've been in prison before. You've been to jail. You've been a part of the prison industrial complex. And could you just kind of explain some things to my peoples here?
Well, I was lucky. I never actually had to go to state or federal prison, even though I probably should have for some of the stuff that I pulled when I was young. First, I'll give a little background so people out there can understand where I come from. I grew up in North Minneapolis in the 80s and into the 90s. I lived through the rise of the crack epidemic that took off, and got a lot of my black friends got shot, killed, paralyzed because the gangs in Minneapolis got it the name Murderapolis back in the 80s. But we had a philosophy as young men that we could pretty much do anything, including up to murder, and the system couldn't do anything with you. At that point, they would have to release you on your 21st birthday. So that was the mentality on the street of Northside back then. Today it's a lot different. We still have the same issues, but I think today the kids just don't give a damn. Damn be the consequences. But So at an early age, I was introduced to the system and how to manipulate and attempt to beat the system. Now, I also got to say that I was an active alcoholic and addict for 27 years. I now have 11 years of sobriety under my belt, and
awesome.
I've taken responsibility for the things that I've done and the actions that have led me to some of those situations. However, there are situations that I was in involving the police that were undeserved. I also have a large contingent of family members that are police officers, so I was able to see both sides of the picture. I guess you could say I'm the black sheep in the family. Mm-hmm. So my first experiences were, 12, 13, we're doing home burglaries so that, we can get alcohol or money to buy drugs or whatever it was. And by the time I was 15, I had got caught for one of those home burglaries, and I had to go do 30 days in what they call the beta program. Basically, Hennepin County sends you out to the boys' school, and you pick up garbage and stuff on the side of the road.
Okay.
And to me, that just said that these consequences for, whatever it is I'm doing aren't that big a deal. I mean, it's just another institution. They kind of train you from birth to be institutionalized. I mean, that's what this education system does. Mm-hmm. It either prepares you for being a consumer or it prepares you to be an inmate, whether you're in a prison or not. But so by the time I was 16, we were robbing people of their radar detectors and their car stereos. Because, if you got some skills, you can have this car stereo and his radar detector out of his car before the alarm even goes off. And we did. And so we went around the city so that we could pay for our cocaine, so that we could freebase cocaine. This was pre-crack. And
damn, y'all was getting it in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Damn.
We were an epidemic.
Right.
They formed a multi-city task force. And one of the guys I was involved with started bragging to some of the neighborhood kids. And, of course, these idiots just went out there and hit some of the same places that he was bragging about. And, of course, they got caught because by then they had a sting operation set up. And
so now let me ask you, Jeff. So you ended up getting arrested, right? So you ended up going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, here's how that experience went.
Okay.
So the kids, they're not involved. This is just a bad idea that they had heard from their neighborhood kid. So they went out and did it, and then of course they named names, and then they named my partner, and then my partner named me. And, that's neither here nor there. So when the police showed up at my house, well, I was pretty smart about my hiding spots. I wasn't going to give it up. I had some passports or something in the house, but they were in a very good spot. So they tore my bedroom apart in the entire basement looking for these things. And I'm like, nope. But they got me when they told me, my mom is sitting right there, Remember now, I'm like 16. I've already done 30 days for a single felony. And it broke my heart to see my mom, now we're going to go upstairs and tear the whole house apart. So I went ahead and gave it up. And then they kept sending me letters asking me if I waived my right to a speedy trial. I'm like, well, hell yeah. I already got one felony. I don't need to go to jail anytime soon. Well, they kept doing that until I turned 18.
Okay.
Because back then, it was really difficult for them to charge you as an adult. Now, mind you, I was hanging out with some other guys, and we were motivated by drugs. It's not like we were doing this for, a huge drug ring or something. It was just a bunch of stupid teenagers motivated by an addiction. And on my 18th birthday, they sent me a 7 or 8 page affidavit charging me with 58 felonies or something. They basically tried to tag me for every stereo and radar detector theft in the Hennepin County area for a year and a half, whether they had direct proof that I did it or not. And then they tried to charge me as a kingpin and also, and I'm just like, what the hell? This is ridiculous.
So what happened when you went to jail? What happened inside?
They never arrested. Well, they arrested me, but they never arraigned me. They never got me in front of a judge because they kept doing it through the mail.
Okay.
So, because they arrested me, they didn't charge me. They only could hold me for 3 days. So this year and a half goes by. I turn 18. Well, now I'm approaching my 19th birthday, and I had some buddies that had robbed a liquor store at gunpoint, and 2 of them did state prison time, and 1 of them went off to the Army.
Okay.
Because back then the Army had a program that if you were a first-time felon and you didn't hurt anybody, whether it involved a weapon or not, you could join. So I tried to join the Army, and on the way out, the recruiter was asking, you got any pending court dates? I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of why I'm here. He's like, well, that program ended 3 months ago. So I skipped state. Long story short, I ran away. Ended up out in California. Back then, the interstate warrant system wasn't real good. So I got picked up for some stupid shit out there. But basically, the long story short, in Bakersfield, I was walking across the street from Chester Avenue, which is a big, long 10-mile strip on Friday and Saturday night out in California in Bakersfield. It's this huge party. It's just like a 10-mile-long car show every Friday and Saturday night. And I walked to an intersection, and I watched these 3 Mexican kids break into an ice house. And I was trying to get on the freeway and hitchhike a ride home, and I didn't want nothing to do with that, so I just kept walking. Well, in California, you get arrested for hitchhiking on the freeway, so I stayed at that entrance ramp about 3 blocks from that crime scene.
Okay.
Hour goes by, I'm not getting picked up, so I start heading back into downtown. Now it's like 3:30. I'm crossing the street trying to, just mind my own business, and this cop just shines his light on me and yells, "Hey, you, come here." And I'm like, what's going on? He doesn't even ask me anything. He just has me look up my shoes. And I lift up my shoes while I had walked across an accident scene where there was some broken glass. So he immediately arrests me for breaking into that ice house. And then I'm trying to tell him I've witnessed the actual crime, but he got to the point that if I didn't shut up, he was going to make me shut up. And long story short, they confiscated my shoes, and obviously it was windshield glass. But
Jeff, did you go to prison or jail? That's what the audience is waiting to hear. Like, what were your experiences?
Yeah, then,
that's what we got because we got other calls coming in.
Yeah, in and out of county jails because of my addictions. But it got worse in about 98, 97, 98 with my ex-wife and the domestic violence system. I never threatened to hit my wife, never called her names, never was abusive to her. I was just an angry man, and they arrested me for domestic violence because I had, I guess, what you would call a mantrum. I was just angry and was having a fit. I wasn't directing violence at anyone, but apparently that's domestic violence. Later I learned to take responsibility for that. But then I got sucked into the system there, and the captain of the jail was friends with my ex-wife's mother, my mother-in-law. And I heard at one point the judge put his hand over the microphone, turned to the prosecuting attorney, and says, "You know how I feel about this case. We've discussed it in chambers." That's ex parte communication. My lawyer or I was not present during that conversation. This stuff happens all the time across America, that the only thing they're interested in is compliance and control and obedience. And it doesn't really have anything to do with skin color. They're being trained to bring violence first and then figure it out after. And that's where we're at now, 30-some years later. It's comply or die. And I've seen it from the inside. I've been in jail. Ramsey County was the last time I went to jail. And I was with guys from Oak Park Heights. They had done time at Oak Park Heights, and they said Ramsey County in the 3D was even worse than anything they had ever seen in the state prison system. There was beatdowns given out every day. I mean, it was just unreal. And they don't feed you enough, so you have no choice but to try to eat out of these vending machines. And the prices are 3 times the rate. If you want to contact anyone on the outside, you got to make a collect call, and it's 4 to 5 times the rate that a normal collect call would cost. It's not about truth and justice anymore. It's about compliance and power and control.
Yeah. No, and I definitely agree. And I thank you for calling in and sharing your story. It's the truth. A lot of stuff has changed. And even like you were saying, when you guys were younger and making mistakes, there were like all types of programs for you guys. Juvenile programs and, rehabilitation. But now you have kids. There's none of that. They make a mistake, they're getting sent to adult prison. They make a mistake, they're getting hit with 2-3 years.
They're charging a 14-year-old as an adult now. They don't even mess around.
Yeah. There's none of that. I remember even when I was in high school and we went to school with guys and they would make mistakes. And so they might be gone first semester. They're all in, JDC and Boys Town and stuff like that, Youth Authority. And nowadays, these same kids can make a mistake, rob a car, get caught shoplifting, shit that teenagers do. And they are being charged with gross misdemeanors, felonies, and they're going straight to jail, straight to prison. They're not thinking anything about it. And I feel like what is, causing that to happen is the fact that there's so much money now that's tied into the prison systems. You know,
Yeah,
they're
police
making
don't
so
make
much
money
stuff.
investigating crimes. Police only make money when they go to court. They get paid overtime. So they're looking for the drug offenses. They're looking for DWIs. That's where they make all their money is the court time. They don't make money doing investigations on burglaries and robberies and things. I was one of the lucky ones because they never adjudicated me on any of those felonies as an adult. All that shit went away when I turned 21. I just got lucky because of a glitch in the system. Otherwise, I'd be slam dunk. I'd be in state prison right now with quite a few of the homies that I had.
Well,
so,
thank you, Lucky Stars.
I'm just lucky.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing your story, Jeff. I appreciate you for calling in. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the next call. And a lot of people are saying congratulations on your sobriety.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later, Steve.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
All right. So we have another caller that's going to be calling in here. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. It's already 7:04. I'm probably going to be on till 7:30. But yeah, it's people have all types of stories. People have been through a lot with the prison industrial complex, but it's definitely changed. It's not the same as it was back in the day at all whatsoever. Let me go ahead and read some of these comments. Okay, we got a call coming in. Hello. All right. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good, T. How are you? Everybody in the comment section has me laughing, so I'm super nervous to follow Jeff right now. So.
No, do not be nervous. Thank you so much for calling in. This is Andrea. I appreciate it. So, as you know, we're talking about the documentary Survivor's Guide to Prison. Did you get a chance to watch that? Have you ever heard about it?
I have watched it, yes.
Okay, and I know that you do a lot of stuff. Andrea's one of my subscribers, and she does a lot of stuff with the juvenile justice system. She's been doing this stuff since she was a teenager, working with kids in youth authority, kids who are looking at life in prison. And me and her have had long conversations, outside of the internet, on the phone, about just the things that are going on with our youth today. So I wanted her to call in so she can give this perspective, because a lot of people don't realize how many juveniles right now are currently looking at life in prison, and she's working to try and help get that stuff overturned. So if you can go ahead and just kind of speak about that for me, Andrea.
Absolutely. So, like you said, I started this when I was about 15 years old, and it was a mix of just needing to channel some of my energy and a little bit of rebellion because my family hated it. So, the first case I got really involved in was in my own state because it was very popular. It was the West Memphis 3 case. I'm sure most people have heard about that. There was a movie about it with Reese Witherspoon, several documentaries. 3 boys under the age of 18. They wore black, listened to a lot of heavy metal. 3 little boys were sadly just viciously murdered. And instead of doing detective work, finding who did this to these boys, they brought these 3 teenagers in who just didn't quite fit in here in basically suburban white bread Arkansas. And they convicted them. One got death and the other 2 got life. And so I got involved in that case, and then I met a lot of people who helped me channel into other cases, because I had no idea when I first started with that case how widespread it was. And the second case I became involved in was in Mississippi, and Mississippi is where I've actually focused most of my attention. There was a 13-year-old boy in Mississippi who was wrongfully convicted and sentenced to life in prison for something he didn't even do. And I actually moved to Mississippi after I graduated to keep working on that case until he finally won an appeal with the Supreme Court.
Now, didn't he end up being found? Didn't he get out eventually? He went in at 13.
He
and got
did.
out? Okay.
Yes, he won an
remember hearing about
appeal,
that.
and then they tried him again, and he was acquitted.
Okay.
And so he's living his best life in Florida right now. So that's fantastic, and that's the Tyler Edmonds case, and some people might have heard about that, some haven't.
So when he went in at 13, how was he when he got out, Andrea?
He was 19.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He was 19. He literally spent his entire childhood, his teen years in jail. And I've had the ability to meet a lot of people who have come out of prison either wrongfully convicted or managed to somehow get their sentence reduced, and nobody is the same after they get out. Nobody. It doesn't matter if you've served 1 year, 2 years, or 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of readjusting, and I do have to say, I disagree with Jeff on the fact that race doesn't have much to do with it. Mm-hmm. I will say that the last two cases I spoke about, the West Memphis 3 and Tyler's case, these were white males.
Okay.
So it happens. They do get convicted. They do get wrongfully convicted. Thankfully, they got to go home. I've only met personally, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I've only personally met with the ones that I've worked with, one African-American boy who got to go home. And then he was quickly brought back in on a probation violation and given another 30 years.
Wait, so after they wrongfully convicted him, he got out?
Well, he wasn't wrongfully convicted, but he was convicted. He was 12 years old when the crime happened. Mm-hmm. He was wrestling with a younger girl. I think she was maybe 7.
Oh, was that wrestling place?
Happened.
He was like real big for his age?
Lionel Tate in Florida.
I remember that case.
Yes, and I think her liver ruptured. Mm-hmm. While they were wrestling. His mother was supposed to be babysitting them, but he was down there they were just, unattended.
Right.
And they were playing and wrestling, and he was convicted of first-degree murder for this girl's death. And that was when he was 13. The crime happened when he was 12. He was convicted at 13. Mm-hmm. So he actually did get his sentence reduced.
Okay.
But then he got picked up on, I guess, a theft of $33 worth of pizza and given 30 years.
I never knew that. So he ended up going back in jail. Now, how old was he when that happened with the whole theft of pizza case?
Say that again. I'm sorry. It sounded a little muffled.
I'm sorry. How old was he when that happened, the whole theft of pizza case, when he went back in? What was his age?
I think it was just a few years after he was released.
So it's almost like they punished him because he got out early.
They don't rehabilitate you. They don't give you the tools needed to go out in the world and be productive. None of these people that I've met of any color were given the tools they needed to be productive members of society. I don't know if it's because they just thought they were never going to get out, and so that made them basically worthless. They didn't need to put effort into them. Mm-hmm. Or, in my opinion, it's just more of prison is not rehabilitative at all towards anybody.
No, and that was one of the things they were saying in the documentary. One thing I did enjoy is that they gave solutions. Like at the end, it wasn't just them, complaining about, innocent people getting locked up or guilty people being mistreated. They gave solutions, and they showed like the statistics, because they said when you go in there, a lot of times you'll be back because you're just learning to be a better criminal.
Oh, absolutely.
You're learning to do more dirt and just not, get caught the next time. But they had different programs in there, like the ones where they would have the mothers, victims of murder. like let's say their kids were killed in a drive-by, they would come and talk to the prison
Yeah.
inmates to let them know how it affected them. And a lot of the ones who graduated from that program did not come back. They also had them in like programs where they taught them about acting. Because when you act, you're becoming somebody else. You're having to take on a different persona. And it's something that calmed the inmates down, and they were able to like basically put themselves in other people's shoes. So they have like a lot of programs. But again, it's not all over America. It's certain prisons, certain jails, and a lot of the programs that they used to have before back in the day, they got rid of them. I think now you can still
Right.
get your GED in a lot of jails, but before they could get college degrees. They got rid of a lot of that stuff. So
Yes, and actually in the 60s and 70s, it was much better than in the 80s, and then in the 90s when the term super predators came along. That's this transcends, while they say race and class played the biggest part in what happens here. Nobody's safe. That is the main problem. A lot of people think is that it's not going to happen to my child. So people don't teach their children their rights. A lot of adults don't know their rights, let alone children. And I think that's the biggest problem with trying children in the adult system is how does a child who, and a lot of these children come from such broken homes. If they're committing crimes, a lot of times they're coming from broken homes. They might have lower IQs or just not be caught up, with the rest of their age group. And even if they are, how many 21-year-olds do you know that know their Miranda rights and what they actually mean?
Right.
So when you say you have the right to remain silent, no child understands what that means. And there are most of the states where children and adults will sign a child's Miranda rights away, which is basically signing their life away to the justice system. And we talk a lot about the pipeline to prison, but actually there are more. There's a bigger percentage of black youth in prison than black adults.
Oh, wow.
As far as population-wise. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. The population of black children right now serving adult sentences is 55%. Of all the children serving adult sentences, 55% of them are black children.
Wow.
Versus 46% of adults. Followed by 26% white, 14% Hispanic, and then, some Native Americans and Chinese, stuff like that. So a lot of people don't address that. So when celebrities are talking about, they're getting kids ready for prison in the future, they don't realize how many kids are in prison right now that need help.
Right. Now, there's supposed to be a woman calling in. I don't know if she still is, but one of the things, and I don't know if people are aware of this, maybe you can speak on it, because like I said, I don't know if she's going to call in, but a lot of times now with these juveniles, what they're doing, so let's say you have a kid. He gets into a fight and they charge him with aggravated assault or, assault or whatever. Because now kids are going to jail and prison for things like that. Even if there's not like a gun or a weapon used. If you hurt somebody bad enough, it can be an assault charge. You can get charged with the felony, right? I have somebody that I know. Her son got 5 years in prison. I believe for an assault charge. I'm not sure. But anyways, he got 5 years in prison. And do you know, they are charging her child support. She is having to pay child support for her child. He went in when he was about 15. Up until, and now he's like, I believe 18, 19. He's over the age now. He's not a teenager anymore. But for the past, 3 to 4 years that he's been in there, she's been having to pay child support. So now they're charging parents child support for your juveniles being in jail, being in prison, and on top of that, they're double dipping, because I said, well, if they're charging you child support, that's crazy, because are they not forcing him to work? She said he still has to work. He still has to, cook in the kitchen,
right,
and whatever they have him doing. So he's making the prison money. And then they're turning around and still hitting the parents for child support. So think about that, kids,
right,
before y'all are out here wilding and doing stuff. When you do time, your parents and your family do time with you, but now they're punishing the parents financially. So this woman is having to work 2 and 3 jobs to pay, for bills in her household, to take care of her other children, and then pay child support for her son who's sitting in prison, who went in at the age of 15. So it's crazy, the stuff that I'm hearing. It's crazy, the conversations that I have outside of YouTube. So if you want to go ahead and kind of talk about that, about parents having to pay child support for their juvenile offenders.
Well, the child support system is something that can be an entire live discussion on its own,
right,
entirely. It is broken from top to bottom. I mean, there's nothing about it outside or inside of prison that is working right now for families anywhere. There's so many people affected by the child support system. And, yeah, not only do parents still have to pay child support for their children in prison, men have to pay child support for children they have while they're still in prison. So these debts accumulate, and then they get out of prison, and they've got already all this debt that is a felony, that could be a felony offense in some states, that could send him right back because he hasn't had the opportunity, or she hasn't had the opportunity, women, to pay the child support. So they make it as many revolving doors as possible. That's literally what they're there to do, because every single inmate, no matter what color or what age, whether it is a 13-year-old, I have seen kids tried as adults as young as 11, or whether it's a 45-year-old man or woman with children, they are all just a financial figure to these people, especially in the privatized prisons. And the sad part is that neither the liberal or conservative party is going to help. It was the Clintons who termed the super predators. Conservatives are definitely not going to help. They don't care about people in prison whatsoever.
I mean, but even with that being said, Andrea, you have a lot of regular people who don't really care about people in prison, because again, like they said in the documentary, we have this mentality: out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
Like we hop
right,
onto
and
the
like I
headlines.
said, a lot of people have the mentality: it can't be my kid, it can't be my child.
Right. You have people in the
And
comment
you just
section
never
saying
know.
that now.
Most of the children I've met wound up where they are because of either an adult in their life or their friends. It wasn't because they are evil people or horrible people. The brain does not even stop developing until you're 25 years old.
Exactly.
So the fact that children, you can't buy a pack of cigarettes until you're 18 years old. You can't buy alcohol until you're 21 years old.
You can't vote.
Somehow the government has convinced people that it's okay to put 12-year-olds in prison for the rest of their life, and I'm talking about life without the option of parole.
Exactly.
And yes, some of these kids have done horrible things. But there is no 12-year-old on the planet, in my personal opinion, that is just so born so evil that outside influences did not affect what happened to them, and it's not something that cannot be rehabilitated. Thankfully, in the last couple of years, there's been a couple of Supreme Court decisions that have somewhat helped. There was, and I'm going off of memory here because I didn't have time to write notes, so I'm sorry.
No, you're
there
good.
was Miller versus Alabama, which made and this is the key word, they made mandatory life without the option of parole for juveniles unconstitutional. So that word mandatory is key.
Now, is that all states or just particular states?
No, it's the Supreme Court, so that it was for all states.
For all states, okay.
But the key word in that is mandatory, which means it leaves it up to prosecutors and judges' discretion. And we all know that all human beings have biases.
Right.
So that in itself is going to leave the door open for a lot of lower class people, whether they are lower class, I would say lower class white people and most people of color, to still be convicted to life without the option of parole. But then that was only for future cases. And then there was another case that came along, and it was out of Louisiana, and they made it retroactive, which meant that cases from the past could go back, and you could go back and look at cases from the past and possibly help those kids that got life without the option of parole. But what we're seeing are judges who instead of saying, okay, maybe I made a mistake, or maybe the mandatory sentencing that I couldn't help before because that was the law, instead of fixing that, they are finding new ways to just give these kids life without the option of parole. There was another boy in Mississippi. His name was Brett Jones. He, when he was 14, he was attacked by his grandfather, who had a horrible Alzheimer's. It was a very tragic case. And he stabbed him one time out of self-defense when he was attacked, and he was sentenced to life without the option of parole. And after these Supreme Court cases, he went back, and the judge essentially said, okay, well, I won't send you to life without the option of parole. I'll just sentence you to life. And in Mississippi, that means you cannot apply for parole until you're 65.
Oh,
so,
wow.
In essence, it is still life without the option of parole. And that's happening all over the country.
So now, Andrea, let me ask you something real quick, because I have to. We have another caller that's going to be calling in. But there's some in the comment section, and they want to know what exactly are you doing to help? Because I know you do a lot of stuff. If you just want to kind of explain to them like what you do as far as, because I know you've worked with the gentleman from Chicago, the one I did the story on, Pierre. You've worked with him.
Yes.
You've worked with a lot of people on cases that I've done stories on, especially like people who are young, juveniles and stuff like that. But Andrea does a lot. I mean, she does a lot for the community. She does a lot for the juvenile justice system, for the criminal justice system. So that's why I wanted her to come on and speak. So she's not just running her mouth. She's actually doing work in the community. She's actually putting in work. So it's very easy to say, well, what is she doing? What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So, Andrea, if you could just kind of explain to them like what you do and how you help these kids who are looking at this serious time.
Well, what I found, I did so much with kids in prison that you get to this point where you get burnt out and you need to change what you're doing. So what I suggest to people if they're wanting to help, there's an old saying that, you cut the head off the snake, it kills the snake. In the criminal justice system, that doesn't work because the snake's too big, it's too powerful, you can't get to the head of it. So basically you have to shoot it full of holes, top to bottom, until you can get to that head, until the head's weak enough to where you can cut off the head. So if enough people actually care, start locally, because I guarantee you there are children locally that have been sentenced as adults in your community. Start by reaching out to them. I guarantee you if they're not alone, they will be alone within a few years. These are kids that, and they may not be kids. They may be people that were sentenced 20 years ago, and now they're in their 30s, that were sentenced when they were 13 or 14 years old. reach out to them. You know, write them a letter. See if you can help them, whether it's, you know, just giving them some hope, letting them know that people are out there that care. If they are in their appeals process, send them books that can help them. It all depends on how involved you want to get. Not everybody's going to get involved enough to move to another state. I couldn't do that again at this point in my life. I was, young, and I was able to do that with Tyler's case. And I was lucky to do that. And I'm grateful I was able to do that. But not everybody can do that. So it's all about what your options are as far as being able to help. It doesn't have to be grand. And so after I needed to take a break from the kids, and I still kept, I still keep up with all the people that, I've always been involved in. I just didn't take on any newer people. But what I decided to do was, okay, well, if I can't do much right now for the people inside the prison, the best thing to do is get involved in your community to where kids don't get to this point.
Right. Because it does take a village. It takes a village.
Assistance that needs volunteers. The Big Brother system, the Big Sister system, CASA, all these organizations that could benefit from people just reaching out to youth. I mean, that's the biggest thing, because no child that's been in prison got there from having a healthy, loving, functioning life. None of them. And you can say that for adults too.
Okay. No, this is really
said,
good. You made a lot of really good points, and I really appreciate it. A lot of people are saying things in the chat. Infinite Wisdom is saying loving the docuseries, and the callers love you too. MLS is saying, I appreciate the convo. The documentary is very enlightening. And then other people also saying voting. Voting is very, very important. So, Andrea, I want to thank you so much.
Local voting, and then making sure that, the politician you're voting for is going to have your best interest at heart. Prison reform is not something a lot of people ask about. Ask whoever's running in your local government what they feel about prison reform and what they're going to do about it.
Right.
Put them on the spot. Make them have an answer. Because we've not held any politician accountable for the way our justice system is, and they are all accountable. There is no one that is innocent right now as far as politician goes. No party's innocent, and the only way we will get somewhere with prison reform, whether it's in the juvenile or adult system, is by holding these politicians accountable. If they're not going to help for you, or not going to help, don't vote for them. Don't vote. I mean, if they're not going to be in your best interest, you don't have to go vote for someone just to vote. Make sure they're going to hold your best interest in their hands, whether it's prison reform or building up your community or whatever it is. That would be my advice.
All right. Well, perfect. So once again, like I said, Andrea, thank you so much for calling in and, sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You have a good evening, okay?
You too, girl. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. All right. So I know a lot of people said that in the chat room they want to call in. I don't have a call-in number. These are people who reached out to me who wanted to come on the show, who want to talk about different things. So that's why I said if you want to call in, just send me an email and I can just call you if you feel like it's really important and you want to say something. Just let me know real quick because we got to get ready to get out of here. It's already 7:32. I have one more person that just sent the email that wants to call in. So if they want to, they can go ahead and call in now. But in the meantime, this has been like a really good discussion. I'm glad like a lot of people came through. And yes, voting is very, very important. And it all starts, with your local politicians, not just like the higher ups. I thought somebody was calling. Let me see. So there's some comments in here. Indy is saying we just had criminal justice transformation reform hacked 2 days ago, creating solutions and changing the system to empower inmates. And then Bodega Beauty said, I would love to know who these kids are in my state that need help. I would love to write them. And I think with some of that stuff, you can just go down to like the juvenile justice centers and talk to the police. You can email your local police. I've done that. I've done volunteer opportunities when I lived in LA with the LAPD. So you can just reach out. You know, they're always looking for people to volunteer. And especially like when it comes to helping young people, you know, if you have a skill set, if you know, IT, computers, graphic design, you know, those are a lot of things that kids are interested in, media, and you want to share and help children, you can just reach out to a lot of like local police departments and juvenile justice places, youth authority places, and as long as you pass the criminal background check, they will help you. So I have a call coming in now. Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing good. So I want to make sure everybody can hear.
How's everybody in the comment section doing tonight? This is a very beautiful topic. I want to thank you, first of all, Lovelyti, for hosting this topic and bringing this discussion to the forefront, and everybody in the comment section for being involved, and all the guests who came on. My name is Satchel. My mother was a sheriff's deputy for 15 years. She worked in several prisons as well in the jail system, and she was one of the first black women to be a sergeant in the prison system. She dealt with a lot of racism from guards in the prison system that she worked with. And female are grossly underrepresented in the prison system, industrial system altogether. A little background about my family is we've been in the healthcare industry for over 50, 60 years, and we've also worked in these kind of systems. I have a degree as a criminal justice, a bachelor's degree with a minor in law. I have friends who've been in and out of prison. I had an experience when I was 12 years old where I ended up going to a prison. I was arrested for attempted murder in California, and I was put into an adult prison with adult males. Not a juvenile prison, not a juvenile jail, but adult prisons.
At the age of 12?
At the age of 12.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was actually the day after my 12th birthday. It was March. My birthday's March 6th, and March 7th, 1992, I was locked up for attempted murder. A young man was shot 5 times with AK-47, and I was accused of it. Somebody said they saw me do it. Eyewitnesses are the worst witnesses per capita. It's been proven. Most people's memories don't work the way they think they do. You think you see something, that's what you saw, but your recall is nowhere near as superb as we think it is. So just based on, and this eyewitness happened to be a kid who was probably 9 years old. And that got me locked up. I was locked up for 3 months. Okay, the boy who was shot came out of a coma, later said it wasn't me, I was out. But by that time, I had heard a man being raped while I was in prison. I had been strip searched in front of a room full of grown men. I had watched 2 Mexican men fondle themselves over a fork that was missing. A fork, mind you. There was my shoes and clothing had to be left outside of the jail cell or the prison cell that I was in. I was moved from male prison to male prison. The guards mistreat you, they disrespect you, you're subhuman. Even before convicted of any crime, like you guys were stating earlier, when you're locked up in a jail, just a jail, not a prison, you haven't been convicted of anything, the presumption of innocence is a farce. You're supposed to be innocent before proven guilty, but this is never the actual case. You are always, especially if you are poor, you are black, and you are underrepresented, and you just don't have the means, like you said, to make bail or to make a bond. And a lot of people don't know the difference between bail and a bond. A bail is what you get from a bail's bondsman. A bond is something you get from the court. If the court does, and then you can get out on your own recognizance. Your own recognizance is you give your word that you will show up for court. If you've never been arrested, you don't have a criminal record, you should be able to get on your own recognizance. But most court systems, it doesn't work that way. A bail bondsman, yes, you only pay 10%, but you have to have collateral for that bail bondsman to collect the other percentage. So say it's $20,000, right? Mm-hmm. You only got to pay $200, but you have to have enough collateral to cover the other percentage of that $20,000. If you don't have that for the bail bondsman, they won't let you out. The bond to the court, if it's $20,000, you have to pay the full $20,000. Now, mind you, if you get out on bond, bail, or anything outside your own recognizance, you don't get that money back upon being found innocent. Upon when they drop the case.
Wait, hold on. So if I pay $20, I mean not $20, sorry, $20,000 to bail myself out and put up collateral, and then I'm found not guilty, they still get to keep the $20,000?
They still get to keep the $20,000.
Yeah, I'm learning so much stuff tonight. Okay, I told you I ain't never been arrested, none of the, God willing, I've never been through the criminal justice system, none of that stuff. I never knew that. That is insane.
That's why a lot of people take pleas. That's why a lot of people take pleas, because you got to understand, the jury, not only they keep your money. This is a big cash money scheme. It has been since slavery. Like you said, the 13th Amendment says slavery is abolished, which was never ratified, thank you. You know, so for people who don't know that, slavery is abolished except for if you are a prisoner. So what was the best way for slave plantations who was losing all of their free labor? Is to have the sheriff in that local town arrest you for a farce of a crime, and then they loan you back out to that slave plantation. It's the same thing today with the prisoners that are locked up in the criminal industrial system. They're being loaned out to Ashley. They're being loaned out to Ralph Lauren. They're being loaned out to these farms where, okay, Donald Trump wants to get rid of the Mexicans. Who do you think are going to replace the Mexicans? But the prisoners. Now those guards are getting overtime because they got to guard the prisoners outside the prison. It's a big money scheme. Now, you don't get your bail back. You don't get your bond back. Even if you get found out guilty, you still got to pay your lawyer. If you're found guilty, now you got to pay the court costs.
Oh, my
goodness. If you're put on probation, you got to pay to be on probation.
I've heard about that. I've heard about people having to pay to be on probation, just like we were talking earlier, where I was telling you one of the mothers who emailed me, she was saying that she's having to pay child support for her son who's in the juvenile justice, now adult system.
And this is something that new that they've implemented. Now, mind you, you've got to pay. You've even got to pay to be in prison now. Say you go to the workhouse and they put you on work release. You're able to leave the workhouse to go work a job, but you got to come back and you got to stay on the weekends unless you work on the weekends. And if your job permits it, you may even lose your job behind this. But you still got to pay to be there. Now you got this debt when you get out if you don't have the funds to pay for it to repay this. The system is so broken and it's so money hungry, it's so greedy. Like the lady just said, there's no way to cut off the head of the snake. You got to destroy it, rebuild it. It was built on corruption.
Right.
Anything built on a foundation of corruption is going to be corrupted. Like I was saying, back to the story from when I was 12. So at 12 years old, you're in a prison with male men. Mind you, when I got out of this system, you know, like I said, I was only there for 3 months, 90 days, and maybe a couple of weeks after that. I had to go to all kind of counseling, see psychologists, had to take medication. I was having nightmares. It does something to your system. Now imagine if you're not guilty of something and you're in jail. You're just in jail, not prison. The guards still treat you like you're a criminal. Right. You still got to go to bed at the same time. You still have no access to a phone. You still only can speak to your lawyer. And mind you, even if you have a paid lawyer, that paid lawyer still has a full docket because he's trying to make money. If you got a public defender, they're representing 135 people per caseload. One person. So even if you're innocent, you're sitting in jail, you're going to be sitting there for almost a year if you can't afford bail, bond, or they don't let you out on your own recognizance. So now you're sitting somewhere for a year, until they decide, okay, there's not enough evidence, we're going to drop the case. Or they decide, you know what, hey, we're going to take it into the courtroom. This public pretender tells you, not a defender, because you're very rarely a defendant and get any good defense. They're going to tell you, hey, we don't want to go to a trial, because like you said, if everybody decided to go to trial right now, the system would stop. Right. More people will be found innocent because the evidence is lacking. But what they do is they say, okay, we'll give you 3 years if you take the plea, but if you go all the way, we're going to give you 30 years if we find you guilty. Who wouldn't be scared by that? I mean, that's the same as blackmailing somebody. If you do this, we'll let you do that. But if you do this, we're going to do this. And they say it was such harsh, and they got the power to do it because you're locked up. You can't get out. You got horrible representation. You don't have access to books to free your mind to prepare to fight these people. And now you got a person who really wants to work in a prosecutor's office. So that's why they're working. They work for the state. Let's remember that the public defender is working for the state. So if it's the state of California, state of Minnesota, state of Texas, their check is being cut by the same person who cuts the prosecutor's check. Make no mistake about that. Most of these public defenders leave the public defender's office and go work for the prosecutor's office.
Mm. So the whole system, it's just a huge rabbit hole. And that's why a lot of times they don't really want to get to the bottom of it because, again, there's so much corruption. And then now you have to hold people accountable, and nobody wants to be held accountable. Nobody wants to be held accountable for people who were, mistakenly put in prison and found guilty of things that they didn't commit. People don't want to be held accountable for prisoners who are abused. At the end of the day, they're supposed to be protected in there regardless of how bad you think they are. They're not supposed to be in there to be abused. Like the other CEO was saying when he called in, they're almost seen as vulnerable adults. But you have a lot of people in the prison system who take advantage of that and who don't want to work on that and who don't want to take care of these inmates properly. So it's just like a corrupt system all the way around. It really is.
And what the CEO didn't mention as well, and I noticed he was very upfront and forthcoming about a lot of things, but what he didn't mention is the same with the police. When you get into the prison guard system, it's the blue wall of silence. So a guard could witness you do something. But you got to think those guards are dependent on each other to watch each other's backs against inmates who are violent criminals. Because everybody is in prison isn't innocent. Everybody in prison isn't a good person. We're talking about the corruption in prison system on the side of the people who should be facilitating protection and the due process and innocent before guilty. But we also got to add in the violent people who are in prison who will do violence to these people who are innocent, who aren't in gangs, who they'll rape them, they'll beat them, they'll extort them. You go to prison, and your parents got money, and you know you innocent, you shouldn't be here, we going to extort you. You better give me $20 a week. I got to go to work, but I want $100 a month from you and your mama, or my people on the outside going to do something to her. And then there's guards who refuse to come forward against other guards because these are the same people who got to watch your back. If the inmate who's doing double life, he ain't never getting out again. What do he care about killing somebody else? He kill another guard, that guard dead, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you don't want to tell on the guards that you got to have watch your back. You don't want to tell on this sergeant who's been sleeping with this inmate, or you don't want to tell on this dude who abuses black people because he's not abusing you. You know what I'm saying? Even though you're a black guard, you need him to watch your back against these other guards. So the system is so choppy. It's so malicious. There's so many nuances to it. There's no way to completely fix something that's so broken.
No, I definitely agree.
Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, brother, for calling in. I appreciate you telling us your story. People are really moved in the comment section. Lots of good comments. I just want to go ahead. Shout out Monique Lowell. Thank you so much for the $100 donation. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kendra Johnson, everybody who's been donating and just participating in this. We need to have discussions like this, and this is why I wanted to do this. And thank you so much for taking time out to call tonight, okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
So one of my subscribers, she's been in the chat. She wants me to give her a call. So I'm going to go ahead and call her on my Google Voice right now. So I'm going to see if she answers. She has some stuff to say. I think she has a child who's locked up and she wants to speak on that. So I'm going to try and call her right now. I'm loving the discussion in the chat room, you guys. Thank you guys so much. Okay, so Florida number. So let's hope she answers. We're going to see if she picks up.
Hello?
Hi, is this LaWanda? Turn down the chat. Turn down the
Yeah, this me.
Hi, LaWanda. Thank you so much. I see you trying to call. You got to turn down the video, though, because I can hear it in the background.
Okay, I turned it down.
Perfect. Let me ask everybody. Can you guys hear LaWanda? I want to make sure everybody can hear you. Your microphone, your phone sounds really nice and clear. So
Let me make sure. Hello?
Yeah, no, you sound good. Let me make sure they can hear you in the chat room.
Okay.
Give me 2 seconds. Okay, looks like people can hear you. Okay, I know I saw your comment initially when I posted that I was going to do this stream. And I seen you were talking about you had a child who's in the prison industrial complex. He was locked up. And so I'm glad that you're able to, that you sent the number and you want to talk about it. And I heard you saying that in your state as well, you've been having to pay child support for your child that got locked up.
Yes, ma'am. When my son was in juvenile, down here in Florida, I live here in Orlando, Florida. Mm-hmm. When my son was in juvenile here, they was telling me I had to pay like $5 a day for him to be in juvenile. I told them I wasn't paying nothing. So what they did was he kept like, little simple stuff like he got put on probation when he was young. Mm-hmm. His little problems started when he was in school, little simple stuff, but when he was in that, all that stuff accumulated up to like $4,000. And I told him I wasn't paying it. So they put it on my credit. And right now I got like $4,000 from the juvenile system for my son being a juvenile when he was
LaWanda,
like 14, I think.
They put, excuse me, I'm coughing. They put it on your credit report?
Yes, $4,000. It's on my credit. It's on my credit.
I didn't know they could do that.
I still have to pay it either way it goes. But I just wanted him to pay it because I felt like, he was doing what he was doing. But he wasn't a bad kid, but, just little simple stuff. Probation, keep putting him on probation, violating. If he don't go to school, they'll violate the probation. They pick him up. I used to be standing up in that courtroom looking so crazy, don't know nothing. So now at 16 years old, he was in a program down here in the Funny Springs, Florida, which is 6 hours away from Orlando. Mm-hmm. So in the program, a riot incited, right? And he got caught up in it. So he got sent to juvenile. They arrested him from the program. He got sent to juvenile. So while he was in juvenile, they was waiting to see what they wanted to do with him. He was charged as an adult at 16 years old in the program. He got sent to the county jail. And from the county jail, he kept going back and forth. They wanted to give him 4 years for inciting a riot. But they kept, going back and forth, the court or whatever. So they ended up getting down to 18 months. So my son is in prison right now. He got charged as an adult when he was 16 years old. He in prison right now, and he 18 now. But he'll be soon getting out. But all those things what them guys been calling and saying, I know about all that stuff. Mm-hmm. About them guards and stuff. They don't care. They don't care about them kids. It's kids in there like this young, like my son, they got 40 and 50, 60 years in prison for being charged as an adult. These kids don't know nothing. And it's like sad. So all those things that them callers have been calling me and saying, I know all about all that stuff.
Right.
And that's why I want to just call in because I know what they're going through. And my son has told me like different stories that done happening now. Since he done been there, he done experienced that stuff when he was 16 years old. So now it's getting close to him to get out. And I'm kind of scared because it's like I be getting nervous because I don't, I want to find him a therapist and get him some help because
he's not going to be the same kid that went in. He's not going to be the same. He's not going to be the same kid that went in. That's not going to be the same kid that comes out.
And see, that's what I'm scared of. You know what I'm saying? He said he'd be okay, but I know I'm gonna, when he get out, I don't know, what I'm saying, what it's gonna be like. But all that stuff, I know exactly what these people talking about. That last caller, he definitely was telling the truth about all that stuff he was saying.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this, because I know a lot of people were getting on you, and I know it's very easy to blame the parents, and I know you probably hear that a lot. Well, what did you do, or you weren't there for him, and this and that. What do you have to say about people who are automatically quick to blame the parents? Because a lot of these kids nowadays, they think they're grown and they don't realize the consequences of their actions. Because like I was saying with one of the callers, when we were younger, there was a lot of rehabilitation programs. So you might go to youth authority,
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You get probation, you do community service. They're not doing that no more. So these kids can literally get arrested for joyriding and you can find yourself in jail going to prison. There's no rehabilitation
that's what happened
at all.
With my son. Mm-hmm. A lot of times he was being around the wrong kids at the wrong time, being in stolen cars, driving in stolen cars. You know this car stolen. Why is you in it? Let me tell you something. I used to talk to my son till he was blue in the face. You know what I'm saying? As a single mama, I got another kid too, you know, a little girl. I can't lose focus on her to pay attention to what he's doing. I work every day, you know what I'm saying? I talk to him. I told him over and over and over, you know, to avoid these type of things. Because I didn't want it to get to this prison point.
Right.
And when my son called and told me, the day he called and told me, he said, Mom, they charged me as an adult and they sending me to prison. Don't you know, I couldn't even breathe on the phone. I just had this gasp because that thing just broke me so bad because I told him, I told you. I kept talking to you. You didn't want to listen to me. You know what I'm saying? His dad is the guy that, you know, he just wasn't never really nothing with us. You know what I'm saying? You know how you be young, and we all been young at a point, you know.
Right.
And it just happens and stuff like that. And as a mama, you only can raise a son so much. You do your part, but it's up to the child. When they get a certain age, they do what they want to do. They don't want to listen, so they have to pay the consequences.
Right. And that's what I wanted to,
right?
And that's why I want to get, you know, a parent's point of view, because I want these kids to listen to this live stream and see, like, you know, the decision that you're making when you end up locked up. It's not just you doing that time. Your parents are doing that time with you, just like that man in the documentary. Even though he wasn't guilty, he might as well have been, because he sat there in there for 26 years. His father did that time with him. His father was there when he graduated from the prison technical program and all that other stuff. You are doing time with your children. So if you don't want to if you don't want to break your parents' heart, if you don't want your mother, you know, crying and, you know, having to defend herself in the comment section, think about your actions. How many days you've been attacking this woman. Yeah. I mean, you have to really think about your decisions.
What you say, T? I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that a lot of these young kids, they really have to think about their decisions, because when you make a decision, it just does not affect you. It affects your siblings. It affects your mother, your father, your cousins, you know. And then on top of that, it's like the whole family is gossiping about you, neighbors. So it's like people need to really like watch their moves and watch the things that they do. And especially now, they're not playing no more. There is no, we about to be out here being kids. Especially with black and minority kids, y'all are not allowed to be kids. Y'all are not allowed to make mistakes. The first time you make a mistake, they're trying to lock you up and throw away the key. And that's just
that's what they doing. I'm sorry, that's what they doing. You know, but my son, he tells me, he like, Mom, this place ain't for nobody. You know what I'm saying? He tells me he has to sleep light. He has to watch his back. You know what I'm saying? Because they come up behind you with shanks and stuff. They stab you with them shanks. And it was one situation where one of the guards slammed the kid on his neck, broke the boy's neck, and the boy died. And did you think anything was done to the guard? No, wasn't nothing done to the guard, but just brushed up under the table, and nothing was done. But this child done got killed because you done slammed him on his neck.
Right.
You know, and then another case where one inmate got into it with one of the guards. The inmate spit on the guard. The guard couldn't do nothing. So what he do? He went and put a hit out on that inmate to another inmate to get him. He snuck up on the boy, stabbed him in the neck with a shank, and the boy got paralyzed. And all the guard gave the boy was some cigarettes and some Black and Milds. Okay, so what you tell this boy parent what happened to him? What story y'all gonna make up?
Wow. So is that really?
This boy paralyzed.
Wow. So I mean, these are real stories. So that's what I want you guys to hear. These are real stories, real things happening to young people in prison. It's not a cakewalk. It's not easy. You guys saw the videos of Kalief Browder. You know, those undercover videos when he was getting beat up and jumped. Like, that is real life. And if you're not built for it, stay out that situation. You know what I'm saying? Stay in school.
And even when I used to go and visit him, you know, me and my daughter went to visit him one Sunday. I had a friend take me. You know, he's not that far, but let me tell you what they did to me when I went to go visit him. Okay, they check before you go in. You got to damn near take off all your clothes. They got to search your shoes. They got to feel all them in your titty and your back and all that right there. They got to rub all on your thighs. I mean, they got to do this to you prior to going in the prison. You got to walk around a cell phone thing to check to see you got a cell phone. So I'm in visitation. I'm getting ready to leave, but the guard tell me, "Oh, ma'am, come with me." So I'm looking crazy. I done got scared because I'm nervous. All these guards surrounding me. I don't know what's going on. So I'm like, well, what's going on? They won't tell me nothing. I'm like, what's going on? So here me go. I'm scared. I done started crying because I don't know what's going on. They say, well, we got to do another search for you. I'm like, for what? They say, well, they were saying that you got a cell phone in there. I said, well, y'all know. I said, y'all check me. All these guards got me in this room trying to make me take off all my clothes. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I got to go. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, well, if you don't do it, it's gonna go. We're gonna have to call the police. And I say, look here, I'm not taking off my clothes. Y'all know I don't have a cell phone. What are y'all talking about? They took my son. So my son, he was like, Mom, what's going on? He walking back. They just took him on out the visitation because he looking scared. He don't know what's going on. So they take him in the room and do him the same way because they say I got a cell phone. I don't have a cell phone. And then from that point on, I told my son, I say, son, look here. I do not want to come back out there and visit you because I think they treated me like shit that day. Had me standing there looking like a fool, crying, scared, don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't never been in jail a day in my life. And I'm not. I don't like stuff like that. So he's like, Mom, I understand what you're saying, but I still ended up going back. But it took me like a few little months before I went back because I didn't want to go through that no more. You got to dress a certain way. And then one time I went to visitation, they told my dress was too short. I had to leave the prison and go way down the road to a $5 store and buy some more pants to put up on my dress and come back. They take you through so much hell to even see your child. They watch you in visitation. Oh, you got to keep your hands on top of the table. You can't do this and that. You can't do that. And it's like, boy, I cannot wait till you get out of this place because I am tired of this. I'm tired.
Well, hopefully when he gets out, like you were saying, you want to get him into counseling. What I would say is definitely get him into like a mentorship program. Get him around positive people, positive male role models who can mentor him because he's going to come home changed.
Exactly because one of his used to be mentors that he had when he was in school, in middle school and stuff, inboxed me on Instagram and asked me, can he when my son get out, can he talk to him and can he mentor him? I say yes because I'm pretty sure he's gonna need it. You know what I'm saying? That's my child. I'm not giving up on him. I never gave up on him because I done been there through this whole time for him. Right. I felt like I was doing time too. Don't want to go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Just want to go to work at home because that's what I got to do. You know what I'm saying? And I hate to send money to the prison. You got to, how much ever money you send, you got to pay for the signature. Like say if you send them $25, you got to pay damn near $30 to send the money. If you want to write them a letter through the JPay on the email, you got to buy stamps. It's just like, they got
and they charge way more than regular. They charge way more than regular stamps in the real world. It's like everything. They charge per picture you send. Whatever you send, they charge for everything. It's such a hustle. And I think that's why there's so many juveniles ending up in the adult system.
And the picture, to send the picture, it got to be a certain size. And if it ain't a certain size, you can't send it. Right. They just get their money off the top either way it goes. And I told him, I say, son, just please. He called me a few nights ago, and I said, son, look, when you get out, please. I don't care what you do. Just don't get no more trouble. I don't want to go through this no more. His cousin just got killed. They probably saw it on the news. His cousin just got killed last week, and the prison called me last week and was wondering was that his kinfolks. And I said, yes, ma'am, that's his first cousin. So they was trying to figure out a way to tell him because that was his cousin. That was his daddy and nephew. Okay. So they happened to see it on the news, you know what I'm saying? And he called me, and I was like, well, I had to break the news to him. He was like so hurt about that, you know what I'm saying? Because that same cousin inboxed me last week as well, a couple of days before he got killed, on the Instagram, and was telling me, Auntie, I want to see my cousin when he get out, and look, I had to tell him that his cousin, that same cousin got killed, shot in the head, got killed.
Yeah, it's sad.
And I told my son,
and that's the thing with him. I said, and it's sad because when they're locked up like that, they're not going to let him go out and go to the funeral. I had a friend who was doing time and his mother passed. The most they let him do, they let him spend time with the body, an hour with the body. That was it. He wasn't allowed to go to the wake, the funeral, none of that stuff. So these are real things that can happen. You're in there, you're doing time, you lose a close friend, a close family member, you're not going to be able to go out there and see them. So the last time you probably...
Unless you pay all these thousands of dollars an hour for the police for you to stand there shackled up, and the guards holding you while you're at a funeral.
And a lot of times they're not even doing that anymore. They told him flat out he couldn't go to his mother's funeral. They said the most you can do, we'll take you to the funeral home. You can look at the body, talk to your mom for an hour, and then we're taking you right back to prison. So, again, people need to really look at the consequences and really try and stay on the straight and narrow. Unfortunately, you're going to have situations where, yes, innocent people get locked up. They end up in the prison system. But to the ones who are out there who are not innocent, who are doing dirt, who are running the streets, who are not listening to their parents and not taking, these situations realistically, listen to this woman's story. Listen to what she's saying is happening to her own son. He went in at 16 as a juvenile, and because of some stuff that happened in the juvenile detention center, they done charged him as an adult for inciting a riot. Not because he killed somebody, not because he shot somebody, inciting a riot. And now he's being charged as an adult, and he's in adult prison. So again, a lot of these young kids, y'all gotta be mindful with your friends. That's why I always say everybody's not your friend. Be mindful who you hang around. Be mindful of the people that you're around, the energy that you're around, because you can find yourself in situations like this. Because again, the only difference between me and her, or you and her son, is basically choices and decisions.
Yeah,
that's all it is. It's not that you a better person or a worse person or vice versa. It's simply choices. Either you deciding to do the right thing and stay on the straight and narrow, or you deciding to take that penitentiary chance. It's about choices, and we need people to make the right choices and make the right decisions. Because again, when you get locked up, when you do time, the first person you're gonna be calling is your mother, is your father. Your friends are not going to be nowhere around. Those same homeboys you was running with, how many of his homeboys done put money on his books since he been in there?
Man, let me tell you something. Those and the sad part about that situation, I see some mom walking around there, hey mom, when Quest come home, but they don't give me no money to see them.
they gonna say free man,
and a lot of them are locked up themselves.
Yeah, but see the thing again, they'll write free such and such. Free man, free Ray. They'll write that, but that don't mean nothing. They're not even writing them letters. They're just writing stuff on social media. They're not putting no money on their books.
Me, I'm a regular person. I don't try to be like I'm this and that. And I be telling my son, them same friends, them people is not your friends. You need to find something else to do. Mom, they be hard-headed.
Yeah.
They hard-headed, and they'll be want to listen, But and then another thing, when he was, the riot thing that happened down there in the Funny Springs, Florida, where he was, it was on the news. It was a total of 7 of those kids got charged as an adult in front of prison for that same thing because they were defending themselves. It was on the news, man. I saw that on the news, and it broke me down to tears because I see my child in a news article like he done killed somebody. But down there at the Funny Springs, Florida, you call the prison, you can already tell off the top that they're racist in that place. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just telling the truth.
Yeah.
They answer the way they sound on the phone. You can tell they're raised, they rude. They don't be want to give you no information about your child. You got to literally almost customize for them to tell you anything about your child.
No,
they don't care. They do not care.
Yeah. And the system isn't meant for them to care. It's just about getting money. A lot of these, like Andre was saying, there's more young people now in adult prisons than even adults. So, and that's why they're doing that, because somebody has to take place of those older prisoners that are now, they can't work, they can't keep making furniture, they got arthritis, they're getting older, they're getting ready to die. So they're filling these prisons up with, fresh young men to work another 10, 15, 20 years of slavery. So I just pray that when your son gets out, I hope that this experience, however unfortunate it was, I hope he takes it as a learning lesson, and I hope he uses it to become a better man. Because that's one thing, another thing that kind of frustrates me, they talked about that in the documentary, is that we'll give people this time. We'll charge them with felonies, and then they get out, and we say, well, you need to, pick yourself up by the bootstraps. You need to, do the right thing, go get a job. And then when they do, you have to put on the job application, check here if you're a felony. And a lot of jobs don't want to hire felons. You can't get an apartment in certain areas. So it's a double-edged sword. And
he's 18 years old.
Yeah, so it's a double-edged sword. So it's almost like, yes, now you're free, you're in the real world, but now there's this stigma of you being a felon that's going to, carry with you and affect you. So, I mean, it's just a really terrible cycle. And I just pray that a lot of the people who run across this video, they don't end up in that cycle, because it's not a good thing to be in. It's not a good stigma to have against you. It follows you, especially once you get that felony.
I don't wish prison on nobody's child. I don't wish this on nobody in there, because I'm telling you, it's nice. I couldn't get no sleep. It's days I used to be driving down the road on my way to work, and I used to be crying, just tears just come out my eyes because I be thinking about my child and is he okay or what he doing, and because he done got into some few little fights and stuff like that. But see, my son, he know how to defend himself, but still, like he told me, Mom, you gotta sleep light of him, you gotta watch your back, you gotta do this and that, and who wanna live like that?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I just be, and I just be hurting for other people's kids. I have family members that done been sentenced to 10 years in prison. They're young and stuff, and I just be hurting for everybody, and it just be a sad situation. Especially, it really be sad, you could feel somebody else's pain because you done been through the same thing what another parent done been through, so you know how they feel. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So that's why I just hope and pray when my son get out of jail, I'm just praying that he do not go back to no place like that, because this ain't for me. I don't want to go through this no more.
Right.
It's just not for me.
Like I said, get him into programs, get him around mentorship, really, really try and get him the help that he's going to need. Because with that felony and him being on probation, yeah, you don't want him, you don't want him to be a revolving door where he's in and out for the next 10, 15 years. So thank you so much, LaWanda. Thank you so much for wanting to call in.
Okay, thank you for calling me. I just wanted to call in and just, because all that stuff, when I saw this right here, I just thought about, my child. And I just wanted to just say, speak about my story or whatever. I don't be getting offended at what them people be saying on them comments, because I know me as a parent. I know I'm not a bad parent. Right. I do my part. I got another little girl that I got to raise her too, so I can't lose focus on her to see about him after I done my part. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then, because I'm going to be losing this, she going to be thinking I'm mistreating her because of him. I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm doing the best that I can to do what I know what I got to do.
No, definitely, and unfortunately, once kids get to a certain age, especially teenagers, they can be hard-headed. They want to do what it is they want to do, unfortunately. So, the only thing we can do is try and raise them to the best of our ability and guide them, so they can make the right decisions. But again, they're humans and they're going to make mistakes, so it's just really unfortunate.
Yeah, so I hope that this right here learn him a lesson.
Right.
And that he really stay out of that, he say, what he want to do when he get out and stuff like that. But all like I told him, son, whatever you do, I'm praying, please don't go back to jail no more. Don't go to jail no more, because now you got to go to the big jail, and I don't got bond money. I refuse to get them people my money like that. I'm not doing it.
Especially you can't get it back. I didn't know that people didn't get it back. Like, that surprised me when he said that.
No, you don't get nothing back.
You
when
get
you
somebody 20
get that money back,
and you don't get it back.
Nobody
That's crazy.
don't have money.
No.
I don't have money to waste like that. I got bills that I got to pay. I got to keep a roof over our head, and I got another child I have to take care of, and we still need stuff. And I'm not doing it. So, I just want to just say what I had to say. I ain't going to say I'm going to go, because I know it's about time for you to go.
I know,
so
it's been 2 hours. Well, thank you so much again. I said thank you so much again for calling in. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I just want to just share my little story, and I know about all them people that was calling in. I was understanding what they were saying. So, good. I understand. I know, and I'm young. I'm 37 years old, and I'm young.
Right.
And I don't want to go through that. It's time for me to get ready to start living my life. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly. Well, I hope this live stream brought you some peace, and you were able to, connect with other people, who are going through the same thing. And this is what I want to do on Sundays, bring people together on important topics,
yes,
because there's a lot of stuff going on in the real world. Like, sometimes we get so enamored with social media and the internet, but that's just one dimension. You know what I mean? In the real world, there's real things affecting us. And that's the stuff I want to come and talk about and bring to a head on Sunday. So I thank you very, very much for, sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
Okay, well, you're welcome, Miss T. And, I'm going to let you go and go, so you can take another call or 2 or whatever, 3.
Okay.
And maybe one day we'll talk again.
Thank you, for sure. And good luck to you and your son.
Okay, thank you so much. Good night.
Okay, good night. All right, you guys, that was wonderful. Like, I did not expect this show to be 2 hours. We got a lot of good calls. I mean, the comment section is popping. Like, thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. Thank you to everybody who called in and shared their stories. Like, I feel like I learned so much more because, like I said, I've never, dealt with the prison industrial complex. I'm just moving my microphone over. And I feel like I've learned even more stuff. So I'm really, really grateful to the people who called in and, educated us and told us things. Like, I did not know that when you pay for your bail, I thought it was just, they're holding your money and then you'll get that back, whatever the consequences are. But to know that somebody can just keep $20,000 of your money now makes even more sense why people are not apt to pay for bail and why they're ready, why they're willing to take a plea bargain, because that's free. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't cost them anything monetarily, but it will cost them their time. So, again, I'm so glad you guys are saying this was informal. Thank you. Yes, people, go out and vote. A lot of folks are saying that in the comment section. I love you guys too. I'm so glad you guys were able to learn something from this live stream. And this is what I want to do once a week. We, pick out a documentary. It can be about any topic, conspiracy, just whatever. And then, we watch it and then we come back and discuss it. And I'm just really glad that people are able to walk away, knowing more than when they came in. Initially there was a lot of questions I saw in the comment section, things that people didn't know. And I hope by the end of this, important dialogue, you walk away knowing more and feeling, more informed. And if you guys have not watched Survivor's Guide to Prison, please check it out. It's a very, very important documentary because, again, like I told you guys, the only difference between us out here in the free world and them in there is simply decisions. You know what I mean? You can make one wrong move and find yourself behind bars for the next, year to, 100 years if they want to. So it's all about decisions and just trying to stay on the right path. And I just hope that programs like the Innocence Program, continue working to get people, who are in prison right now, who are innocent, continued working to get them out, because nobody should be locked up for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, knowing that they're not guilty of a crime. So, hopefully people will go back and do their due diligence and try and get these people out. So, in the meantime, thank you guys so much. We'll be back again next Sunday. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. From what I see, it did. You guys did enjoy the show. Very informative. Yes, Diamond Ray. Diamond Ray says, stay woke. Definitely do that. So I'm going to go ahead and end the show. I'll have some more videos for you guys this week, so make sure you guys stay tuned. Thank you all for your support. Thank you. We finally hit 700,000 subscribers. I seen you guys writing that in the comment section. So yeah, the tea sippers are here. We're live, we're in effect, and I will see you guys next Sunday for more documentaries and discussions. All right, bye.